This is the time of the year where everybody's trying to get themselves in their top physical shape. You know, join the health club, blah, blah, blah. But how many of us really think about, how do I get myself in top mental shape? And with me to talk about that today is Keith Miller, who has traveled all the way from Los Angeles. This man is one of the most renowned life coaches in the world. And I guess I should ask you, what is a life coach?
So it's great to be here, Ed. Yeah. Thanks for having me on the show. And so a life coach is somebody who helps you get into that zone of success, helps people have the best lives. It helps businesses have a culture that is in great relationship, so people are highly productive, happy, have good health, longevity.
I mean, it sounds rather simple, but isn't that what therapists are supposed to do?
Therapists and coaches, some of the delineating features are that someone who traditionally goes to a therapist has a higher level of dysfunction. So they're looking to go from dysfunctional to functional. Somebody who works with a coach has a functional way of being, and they're looking for an optimal life experience.
So they're okay, but they just want to be doing a whole lot better.
Exactly. So they could have pieces of their business that are not working well, or pieces of their life, or all of us have some victim energy. We all have some victim energy.
And when you say that, I mean, why do we have victim energy?
We have victim energy because, well, we're all born whole, perfect, and complete. In fact, all of us can remember when we're really little or playing in the sandbox that we just were. And then we go to school, and if we pull up that slide with the circles, that will be helpful, that when we go to school, we get in with other friends and students. And then we start noticing when the teacher starts talking about different subjects, that one kid's great at English, one person's great at math, one person's great at science, and we start comparing ourselves, and we say, oh, I'm only great at history or art, so how am I going to fit in with the others? So we tend to start perceiving that we're less than. And that's what that red circle. So we actually, if on a 1 to 10, we go into the circle thinking we're a 10, then we start giving ourselves a lesser number. And we start saying, maybe I'm a 6 in comparison to everybody else. And then when we perceive ourselves to be less than, that writes the script for the rest of our lives. It's an illusion, but we believe that we have to overcompensate or medicate or stay a 6 or stay removed.
Stay with the label.
We'll stay with the label.
But is everybody a victim? I mean, some people seem so self-assured, so self-confident. Sometimes that's a false facade.
It can be. Everybody has some victim energy, and coaching is about removing the victim energy and stepping more into an empowerment energy. So, for instance, an example of a victim energy is, think of a past relationship. Everybody could relate to that, thinking that I was in something or someone did me wrong. Well, that means that your past is dictating actually your future, right? Because we make meaning out of the past, and it has a hold on us.
Well, one of the things I've learned when I look at your website and speak to you is that you're always in choice. I mean, when people feel like a victim, like something is happening to them that they have no control over, it's really the opposite.
But people don't realize that. You know, we get these beliefs and perspectives about who we are and about how life is. And that will create the life that you have. So we want to explore what are the beliefs and perspectives that we have in life so they could be in alignment with the life that we really want. Otherwise, let's say that let me tell you a story about a client.
Okay.
So I had a client that came to me. His name is Bill. And Bill came to me and said that he does not have the life that he wants. He was not working. He was living with his mom. He was not in a relationship. And he said, I have social anxiety disorder. And he was on medication. And we started painting the picture of what was the life that he really wanted to have. I want to be in a relationship. I want my own place. I want to work. I want to be engaged. But what happened to this young man, he was 29 years old, is when he was little and his parents got divorced, his father was supposed to pick him up. And he would sit on the curb and his father didn't come. And although that is really painful.
This is one experience?
From one experience.
One experience, and it's now transgressed his whole life.
30 years. 30 years. What the meaning he made out of that was that he was not lovable, that his parents didn't care, that other people wouldn't care, and he generalized this to his whole life. And what was so amazing about Bill is that when someone comes to a coach, they're actually raising their hand and they're saying, I'm no longer willing to have this type of life. I want it to be different. I see other people have great lives, and that's what a coach does, helps you let go of the past and get into the zone of success.
Well, do you have to go into the past when you do that? I mean, kind of like psychoanalysis, where you have to go, okay, let me find the root of being left out on the street, sitting there, in order to be successful in coaching somebody?
Well, actually, a therapist would focus on the past. A coach focuses on the present moment. But realize for Bill, this wasn't his past, this is his right now. His perception of his life right in this moment is, I'm not lovable. I don't have what it takes to engage in life and to be with others. So we explored what was his belief systems and perspectives right now about who he is and about what is it that his father, what actually happened. We tend to take things very personal. So for Bill, sitting on the curb was a very personal thing. It was about him. When we started to look at really what happened and start to look at other perspectives, Bill quickly realized that it was his father's actions defined his father, not him.
You feel that nothing is personal.
Nothing is personal.
And so when somebody says, oh, God, my life is horrible, look what happened, look what so-and-so did to me, that's not really accurate.
It's not accurate. It's one perspective. That's what that is. And that's what we tend to do. And then when we think that, when we feel like we're a victim in lives, we start collecting evidence of that being true. Let's pull up that slide about nothing is personal. Okay. Let's review this. So what other people say and do defines them 100%.
Okay, so in the case of Bill, what his father did, you know, just not picking him up, being irresponsible, that defines his father.
It defined his father as what kind of father he was being, how he was showing up, and another perspective is that Bill's father was doing his very best in that given moment.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
Let's
finish the rest of the slide. Yeah.
So, what other people say and do defines them 100%. However, what we hear and how we perceive what's happening is what defines us. Right? So, how we respond or react defines us. And conversely, what I say and do defines me 100%, and what you hear and how you react or respond defines you 100%. So really, nothing's personal. What's actually happening is people are defining who they are in this world. But you know what's interesting? If you say something to me, Ed, and I take it personally, and I start defending myself, I never even got to hear what you said. I bring the focus back to me and don't hear you. So a big shift here, and this is something that is a foundation in business, is not taking things personal. This is a high-level communication skill, and it's life-changing. When we start breaking away from the personalization as if we're being victimized, that we have to have boxing gloves on to protect myself from what others are saying, we have a stressed life.
So how then do you deal? Like, we started the show talking about grammar school and that first day. Mm-hmm. So when one kid goes up to another kid and said, boy, because that kid doesn't know math, you are stupid, how do you not take that personal?
Well, at that age, we do. This is the paradigm in which we're living. There's going to be a time, not that far away, where coaching skills will actually be in education. We're actually training educators, and in my perspective, it would be fantastic if we had educators that were actually trained in bringing out the very best in our kids. So it would be very different at the first day of school if I said to the kids sitting in the circle, listen, you're not all going to be great at everything, and if you are, fantastic, but you're all going to be successful, and you all have a unique gift to bring into this world. That's a very different message, is that then you have to compete with everyone else in the circle.
Yeah.
You know, we work with people that are highly autistic, and these children have an amazing gift. Some of them are musical savants, and we all bring a great gift to this world. And it's about, education could be about cultivating that gift versus removing us from the circle and saying we're not good enough, and we have to manage that.
And of course, I should say that being a coach is a highly technical area. It takes a lot of certification, a lot of education, and you actually work in teaching people how to become coaches as well.
I do. I work for iPec Coaching, which is the Institute of Professional Excellence in Coaching. I'm their lead trainer on the West Coast. And becoming a certified coach is like going through a master's program. It's a one-year program. And what's beautiful about it, the people that are drawn to become coaches are those who are open-hearted, are interested in personal development, and want to help raise the consciousness of the world. And that's what coaching does.
You have another saying that everything is unfolding in your best interest. Now, some people get diagnosed with cancer.
They do.
You get diagnosed with heart disease. Loved one dies.
That's right.
How is that unfolding in somebody's best interest?
So what would be different if we actually embraced that belief and started to notice what is unfolding in my best interest? So that means that when you have your attention towards how is this unfolding in my best interest, you start noticing that there's a gift in everything that happens. And when I work in rooms of thousands of people and I ask them how many people in this room have had a trauma, 999 raise their hand. And when I ask those same people, and how many of you have had the most profound life-changing gift from that experience, 999 hands go up. So what's really happening is that although life has joy, a lot of joy, and a lot of pain, all of it together is for us. When we start noticing that life is unfolding for us and not against us, we're able to see the gifts. When we feel victimized, we're just collecting evidence that we're getting victimized, and we don't even see the gift. When you have this type of belief system that life's unfolding for me, you start to notice the gifts, even in the pain.
How does one transition from that seeing the negative into seeing the gifts?
It's a great question, Ed. So we're practicing our beliefs and perspectives at all times. So for instance, I'm from Los Angeles, so if I left my house in the morning with this perspective that they drive poorly in LA, then when I get in the car and start it and get on the highway, my attention's going to go towards all the drivers. That's what I'm going to see. That's what I'm going to experience. It's all I'm going to see. I'm not going to even see all the great drivers in Los Angeles, and there are. So what happens is when you start working with a coach, we start looking at other perspectives and beliefs, such as the ones that will support your best experience. And all of a sudden, your attention starts noticing not only the bad drivers, but you start noticing the good drivers as well. And then your belief starts changing, and you say, there's just drivers.
You know, there's sometimes I read somewhere that when you think about driving in Los Angeles, and you think about the tens or hundreds of thousands of vehicles on the freeways there, it's amazing that everybody stays in their own lane and just goes about their own business 99% of the time without a mishap.
That's right. So we're really safe. And could you imagine, really coaching brings this experience to people where they actually feel blessed to have the experience of life, safe with others. I could take my boxing gloves off. I could have relationships with others. When we look at work, all's work is being of service to others. That's what all of us are doing. So all of us are in relationship with each other. So it's about, how can I be in great relationship with others? How could I be in great relationship with my mate? How could I be in great relationship with my coworkers? The irony is, when we have a culture, a business that has more joy there, people are highly productive.
And these skills work, it's the same principles that apply whether you're in the workplace, with your spouse, with your parents, and with your children.
That's right.
Right?
It's about coming to a place of gratitude.
And how do you do that?
How do you do gratitude?
How do you come to a place of gratitude? Look, let's face it. You put on the news, it can drive you crazy. It can be very depressing.
It can be. Yeah. And maybe the news is a snapshot of our global consciousness at the moment. And when we as individuals start raising our own consciousness and start looking at things differently, we actually impact the collective consciousness, which is a different topic all in its own. However, when we are grateful, what we're starting to do is we're starting to look at what's right in our life. And really, it's an amazing experience. So gratitude could sound like, I'm grateful for another day to experience life in a body that supports me, or the parts of my body that are working, roof over my head, fresh water, fresh food, being born in the United States or living in the United States, being safe, beautiful weather, abundance. It's when you are grateful for what you do have, you start multiplying its effectiveness. That's one thing. But what you're really starting to do is you're training your psyche, you're actually training your mind to start looking at and collect evidence about how your life is great. You start experiencing more joy. When you're experiencing more joy, you attract people that also are experiencing joy. You start having joyful relationships. And this is how you start spiraling up. But it's a training, and it starts with gratitude.
And you literally still practice this every day?
Twice a day.
Wake up in the morning and do your gratitudes?
Actually, my friends and partner would say I do it all day. And it really is true. The driving thing. One day I was driving, and I was a little late, and the traffic just stopped. And when I looked, and my hands were like tense on the wheel. And I thought, just let go. And just be grateful that I have arms and legs to drive, a nice car to drive. And what was interesting, I just decided to relax. I put the seat back, I did gratitude, and I looked out the sunroof. And I saw this amazing tree over my head, and this bright yellow tree that I've never seen before. And I thought, had I not relaxed and noticed this moment, be grateful for it, I never would have had that. Now, as soon as I was grateful, traffic opened up, and there I was on my way. We tend to stress ourselves, and coaching is about enjoying life. Like, why are we here, Ed? Why not enjoy life, enjoy working, enjoy our relationships, and start looking at beliefs and perspectives? Life, you know what, a lot of my clients say to me, they say, I've already done my hard life. I'm ready to do my easy, joyful life. I'm ready for my best relationships, ready for more joy, and people that are more joy make more money.
And I think everybody would say, hey, I'm ready for my joyful part of my life, right? Okay, so we talked about gratitude and visualization, another step that you use.
Visualization is very important because it's not something that we even need to do, because we're all doing it now. We're all visualizing. So when we get up in the morning and say, ugh, another day, right? I have to go into the office or get in the freeway. We're visualizing what that looks like. So what a coach helps you do is start training your brain to visualize and see, what is it that you do want? What's the experience you want? What's your best relationship look like? What does it look like to have inner peace? What does it look like to have more joy in the life you want? What does abundance look like to you?
I was thinking this morning as I was getting dressed, I have a routine in the morning, and it's the same routine. You wake up, you go to the bathroom, you go get the newspaper, you go drink your coffee, whatever it is. Is that a positive or a negative? Should people be altering their routine so to place themselves out of a routine occasionally?
It's neither good nor bad. Those are both judgments. But if something works for you and that brings you joy,
Right.
then it's great for Ed. If there's something else that you would like to be doing or rather doing, then with your coach you would explore that.
Meditation. We've talked about meditation a lot on our show. Just relax, being mellow, taking the moment, being in the moment.
It is about being in the moment.
Yeah.
When we look at our obligation to life, is it about working? All these things, we're just here. So meditation is also about training your mind. So we have bazillions of thoughts per day, and that can make us very anxious or feel guilty. We could be in the future, we could be in the past. So really where we feel the most calm is in the present moment. So meditation is about letting thoughts go by and noticing the gap of just being, and start training the mind so you are not just all your thoughts.
And you talk about movement. Is that referring to moving your body?
Physical movement. Yeah. Physical movement. Physical movement is important because, well, a couple different things. It creates endorphins. And people who have highly successful life, they take care of their bodies. They exercise. They walk. They put good things into their system. They eat good food or organic foods, probiotics, things that are good for your system. They have something called balance. That means that it doesn't mean that they only eat this way. So it's not about being rigid, but it's about having a balance, right? Good sleep, honoring your life experience. So is our life about collecting money and doing stuff, or is it about actually an experience that we have of having tranquility and love and joy and happiness in our lives?
Yeah, we want it all.
We want it all. Why not?
Yeah.
And you know what? Something I wanted to say, the reason why I know this, Ed, is because myself, I've gone in my own personal experience from a painful teen to where that shifted. And actually, when I went into coaching, I had my own longevity of therapy. I went through therapy for 10 years to try and unravel my past. And it wasn't until I worked with a coach who asked me, when I told them my story of my life or how I was abandoned, when that coach asked me, what skills did that build in you? It was as if an energetic wave came over me. That was the question that I was waiting to be asked. That what was right about what happened to you?
Because life was unfolding in your best interest, even though you perceived it as all this victimization.
Exactly. So a coach will ask you questions that unlock that key and bring out your best self. A coach does not advise you. A coach does not know more than you. You're the expert in your life. But a coach helps bring out the very best in you and help explore different perspectives and meanings that you've made out of various situations, such as nothing means anything, nothing, until we give it meaning. You could be driving a vehicle and get pulled over by the police, and it doesn't mean something bad happened until you say that.
Well, but most people would think, hey, why is this happening to me? Why is he stopping me and not the car in front of me?
Exactly.
And you would say, well, maybe he just, because of that being stopped, you avoided being in an accident and getting hurt.
Or I'll ask myself, sometimes I don't even know in that very moment, how is this unfolding in my best interest? And, this did happen to me recently. And you know what? I do drive too fast. And it's a system we have in place for me, not against me.
Right.
It's something to protect me and my family when I'm driving. It is for me. I could either be a victim from that, or I could be empowered.
Great point. What about compassion?
Where does that start?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about, your final step, compassion for self and for others.
Yeah. When we look at life, we get very judgmental, and we think that we have to be perfect. Because remember, we remove ourselves from the circle. So we think that we always have to get it right. We put so much stress on ourselves. And life brings us joyful experiences and painful experiences. And when we walk through life knowing that everybody is doing their very best that they can, which is true, otherwise we would do something different, right?
They're doing their very best they can at that moment.
In that moment, given your sobriety and your education level, how much sleep you've had, how much stress you're under, all of us are walking through life doing the very best we can. Now, it doesn't mean under different circumstances we could have a more optimal experience, but in this moment, we're doing our very best. So when we notice that and stop beating ourselves up and say we made mistakes, we start to notice that we're learning at all times. And when we focus on the learning, what did I learn from this event? We could feel good about ourselves, but we could also have compassion for ourselves. I did my best here. I learned. I have compassion for self, and I have compassion for everybody else. And when we start having compassion for ourselves and others, we have a softer way of being.
Well, it's an amazing road, and this is a great technique. I got to tell you, I've heard people have their life turned around in a very short period of time, having gone through coaching and particularly coaching with Keith Miller. So if you want to reach Keith, you can visit your website.
Or just call me directly.
Keith Miller Coaching, is that what it is?
Yep.
KeithMillerCoaching.com, or you can call you in LA. And a lot of what you do is on the telephone, right?
I have an office in the Beverly Hills area, and over by phone. I work worldwide.
So you work anywhere on, cell phones, you can reach them anytime, any place. Thank you so much, Keith Miller.
Pleasure to be with you this morning.
Great to see you. I'm going to take those words to heart, and see you next week.
Be sure to visit us online for more information about today's guests. To see past shows or even contacting us about being on the show, simply go to theedbernsteinshow.com. That's theedbernsteinshow.com.